You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of ShopPay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
The internet gives us a glimpse into the crazy happening all around us. Unhinged behavior, personal secrets, unbelievable coincidences. It's all one big circus, and the RR Show is your front row seat. Each week, we curate the wildest Reddit stories just for you. Whether you're into hilarious accidents, insane relationship drama, or pure chaos, these insane confessions are sure to make your jaw drop. Listen to the RR Show weekly on Mondays via your favorite podcast platform, or get your episodes early and ad-free by becoming a member. The RR Show. All of the drama, none of the hassle.
Hello, good people, and welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, or of course, welcome to it if it's your first time. And if it is your first time, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you more than I can put into words. Today, I am talking to Barton McGuire from a little company called Cosmodio. Cosmodio is doing some of the most exciting new pedal designs that I have seen in quite a long time. So after we had a few industry biz type chats, I decided, you know what, this guy really needs to come on the podcast. We got to record some of these industry biz type chats and get to know him and his company better. So that's what we're doing on this episode. We're diving in deep. We're talking about a lot of different things as it pertains to starting a gear company or really undergoing any creative endeavor. That's a lot of the focus on this episode, and I know that's why a lot of you are here. So I just have one quick plug, and then we will get into the episode. Because I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that you could win a guitar. And not just any guitar, you could win something from the Fender Custom Shop, a Custom Shop Journeyman Telecaster. Oh, this thing is glorious. Yes, I know there's some controversy with the folks at the Big F right now, and I totally understand that, and a lot of you have asked for content on that, which I might deliver at some point, but we'll get into that later. But we are giving away a very rad guitar that my good buddy Scott hand-picked out. This Telecaster is that good. He had a whole selection of stuff to choose from over at the legendary Black Bobbin Guitars in Chicago, and he picked this particular Telecaster because it is glorious. So if you would like to potentially win this instrument, go over to stringjoy.com and check out all the details on our Summer of Stringjoy giveaway. It is still going on. We will be doing it all summer long, and this month there is a sweet telly up for grabs. So go check it out if you're looking to have a little bit of classic guitar action in your life and you're not looking to necessarily throw any bucks towards a certain entity that is beloved but causing the guitar community some grief at the moment. Let's just put it that way. All right, that's enough plugging. Let's get into this episode with my dude, Barton McGuire. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff, occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Wyland. With me today, I have Barton McGuire from Cosmodio, and we're going to pretend like we didn't just do 10 minutes of this episode right before we hit record.
Right on. That's right. It's all fresh.
It's all fresh. That happens a lot, as you can imagine.
I can.
Yes. Well, been talking to a lot of artists lately, and this will be a kind of a flash to the original origins of the podcast, talking to builders, the people that make the tools for these artists possible, and I like that. I like that a lot. So welcome, Barton, to the show. The reason I wanted to get you on is, not only did we get along very well on our phone calls and various interactions, but also I think you have one of the most exciting new-ish pedal companies out there right now, and it just seems like this is the perfect place to tell your story. So
Wow,
I'm
thanks,
gonna let
man.
you do it.
Right on. Well, you want me to just take it away?
Yeah, let's go from when did you start playing and how did this evolve into what it is today?
Totally. So for quick context, for a lot of listeners probably haven't heard of me or heard of Cosmodio, but I started Cosmodio Instruments in early 2024, so we're just about 2 years old, and we make adventurous pedals for adventurous people. And I can talk more about why I've raised it that way later. But yeah, for me as a player, I mean, I started playing music at a very young age and then found my way to guitar, and that was the most expressive instrument. But I found effects and was completely captivated by them very, very early on. I remember, toyed a little bit with like an overdrive or a chorus pedal, but some friend lent me a delay pedal, and I wish I could remember what it was, but I must have been 14 or 15 years old. Maybe it was either like a Boss DD3 or it was something like a cheap sort of knockoff on that. Like Digitech had those things that were sort of looked like Boss-shaped pedals, and it might have been one of those. But I did the thing where I turned the feedback knob up to the point of self-oscillation. I mean, I didn't know what that word was at the time, but like just accidentally like did that thing where the echo started growing, and then I turned the speed knob and did its pitch shifting whoosh, and my entire brain just refused and rewired itself in that moment. And to me, that was like the most compelling and interesting musical thing. And suddenly, like, it wasn't just guitar, it wasn't just any sort of like instrument, it wasn't just notes and chords and words, but it was all about sound. And there was this entire cosmos of sonic possibility that I felt like I saw like a small window into, and I became really interested in exploring it. And so that was me as a kid. And then, I grew up playing in bands, playing music, studied some music. I never studied really any form of technology in a formal way in college or in graduate school, but studied music and music composition, and sort of cut my teeth just enough in some electronic stuff. And I had a really great professor who taught one course that was kind of like, he kind of made it about hacking music hardware. I know that sounds like a very unlikely like college course, but it's kind of what this one ended up as.
And so I started went to school if that was offered.
It was really great. As you can imagine, it was like a student favorite. And I would just spend all this extra time then in the lab and would just be there late into the night with just different parts, and they had breadboards and they had sort of stuff to play with, and I could build these basic circuits. And I didn't really know what I was doing, but I've always had sort of an experimental mindset. When I say that, I don't mean like experimental art and the like make things sound weird, although I certainly like that too. But literally always just as a musician, once again, starting with that sort of initial experience of, exploring the delay pedal and finding these otherworldly sounds. Like I just sort of approached making music from I wonder what would happen if I, did X to Y, if I combined this with that, if I plugged the output back into the input, or whatever it is that you think you're not supposed to do, like what will happen then, as almost a procedural way of making art. And then I found myself making different weird, clunky devices. I've got some of them sitting on this wall behind me of just these things like that I made in that lab, just crammed into plastic RadioShack enclosures and just using whatever sort of parts I could get my hands on. And around that time, I had this insight that it wasn't, I think a lot of people think that building things, you need a lot of expertise. And certainly to build something like a refined product, and like we'll get to that part of my life later, some of that is required. You have to have a lot of control and you have to sort of more or less know what you're doing. But I think a lot of people assume that whether it's making music or whether it's writing code or whether it's building hardware, that to make something that can mean something to you or mean something to someone else, that you have to have some sort of like special knowledge or textbook knowledge, but you really don't. Like my basic insight was that I didn't really know what I was doing, and there's no way that I could have built a fine reverb pedal or something like that. But I was coming up with these gnarly dirt boxes and these sort of like gritty, misbehaving synthesizer modules. And whether they sounded good or not is purely subjective, but I knew for a fact that they didn't sound like anything else in the world, that there was no other device that anyone held anywhere in any room on earth that like sounded quite like this sort of like weird, cranky wire, spaghetti wire thing that I had just put together. And I think that's what a lot of us, we all want like a secret sound or a signature sound, or you want that thing that's unattainable, that's only you. And just putting things together in a pretty naive way was like my cheat code for making that happen. And so fell in love with building things in this sort of experimental way, was never interested in replicating existing circuits. If I wanted a tube screamer, I'd go buy one. If I'm going to build something, it's because I'm going to make something that doesn't exist. And that's just sort of how I approached it, and was just sort of a labor of love and projects. And then, I graduated and started working in jobs and worked in software for a long time and was playing bands and moved to a bunch of different places. And all the while, just sort of making pedals for friends and bandmates, and sometimes selling the odd one here and there at like a used music store or something for fun, but never anything at scale. And then back in 2015, I moved down to New Zealand for a few years, which was it's a wonderful country and was a wonderful time, but I had to like sell all my instruments, and I had to leave behind all of my building stuff, my soldering iron and all of my components. And then was in New Zealand for, like 4 years.
What were you doing down there?
So we went there. My wife studied at a university there. She's a writer, and she was getting her PhD. We were living in Seattle prior to that, which was a wonderful time in our lives as well. Seattle's such a cool town. I'm always like jealous of folks like you, Blake, who still get to live in the Pacific Northwest, because I kind of wish that I still do. But
I do love it up here.
Yeah, it's so great. But anyway, then she wanted to go back to school. We'd always talked about living abroad, so she was applying to different programs, and got into this great one in Wellington, New Zealand. So we moved on down there and sort of didn't know anyone in that continent, and so but got some one-way tickets and some suitcases of our stuff. And I did bring my Telecaster, but that was about it as far as gear is concerned. And then really missed building things. So then when we moved back 4 years later, I'd kind of developed this dream of actually starting a pedal company. And we were there from 2015 to 2019. So it was sort of when there was a lot of energy and a lot of excitement in the boutique pedal space, and companies that I adore, like Chase Bliss, were like starting and growing, and it seemed like the coolest thing in the world to me, and it was hard for me to participate in from afar. So when I got back, and then naturally, every time you do a big international move, for anyone who's done one, your whole life is sort of jumbled up, and there's a lot of things in the air, and it took us a little while to land here in Boston and arrange our lives here. And I didn't start Cosmodio right away, but I think as sort of at the tail end of the fallout of trying to figure out what am I going to do in this next chapter of my life, the dream was, I just had this dream of starting a pedal company, and it seemed like it was such a cool thing that someone could do, such a cool job to have, that it had to be impossible, because like something so fun or so cool, it's felt like a rock star dream, that like had to be delusional. But then I was talking with my friend Jesse, who's now the social media manager for Cosmodio, so some people might know him or know his face on our channel. And he's a bandmate of mine back from Seattle days, and one of my sort of best friends in my life. And it was just talking to him one day during COVID, catching up in a video chat kind of like this, and trying to figure out what I was going to do in my life, and mention this idea that maybe I'll start a pedal company. And he was like, finally, he was like, he was like, yeah, no, bleep that out. Like, yeah, no kidding. Of course, we've always been waiting for you to do that, because I was making pedals back in the day, and like he would play them, and for me and my bandmates, they thought they were so great, and he was just so relieved, and he responded so positively that it was just that little bit of like positive signal that I needed, and so I'll always remember that conversation, because that's sort of when I could was like, okay, I like spoke the thing out loud, and someone didn't laugh at me, and they thought it was a good idea, so maybe I should actually give this a try. Mm-hmm. So then I started working on formalizing the first circuit, which was the first thing we released was our Pet Yeti overdrive and distortion, and that was based on one of those circuits that I had built back in my Seattle days that a lot of people really gravitated towards. And yeah, just decided to take the plunge and start Cosmodio. And so that's how I got started and got into it. Should I talk sort of about the company and what we've built or how things are going?
We can get to that. I'm just curious, when you made that first actual product and put it out there, how did anybody know about it, know where to find it? Like, was it just your friends and family and your immediate circle? Like, how did that even work? Because I know that a lot of people are listening to this thinking that they would like to do something in MI. Yeah. And that's always, it was my biggest question. I'm like, well, how am I going to find anybody that wants the thing that I'm interested in? Even with this show, I was like, how am I going to find people to even listen to it at first? I didn't know how any of that worked. Obviously, there's a million ways you can go about that, but how did you go about that?
It's such a great question, because it's still something I think about all the time. And I'm guessing you can relate to this, and that a lot of people relate to this. Where like, you need to do some things right. You need some luck to fall your way. And I'll talk about some of the things I did and some of the luck I think I had. But like, you mostly have to hustle just really, really hard to get the first people to notice you. But never is, at least not that I've ever experienced, is there this like breakaway thing where you get to stop hustling, like whether it's going from like selling one pedal to 10 pedals, from 10 to 100, from 100 to 1,000, from 1,000 to 10,000, like it never becomes easy. And I'm still asking, the question of like, okay, cool, I've reached as many people as I have. Like, how do I get more people? How do I, get in front of more people? And there's just no easy answer. When I got started, one thing I did was, I was talking about my friend Jesse. He was an early collaborator and was helping me with social media right away. Like, it's just, social media is a platform that I've never intuitively understood. I don't really use it. I know that's unusual, but I never had an Instagram account before Cosmodio started. Because I'm just not a consumer of that stuff, and I knew that I needed somebody.
You're one of the first people I've met that I can relate to on that. I didn't have any social media at all, not even a MySpace page before, like, thinking maybe I wanted to do something like. I didn't even have a personal Facebook page before I was like, I think I want to do something on the internet with music.
It's kind of amazing, and it's wonderful to hear, but kind of a little bit surprising, because obviously now this thing that you're doing here it's not the same, but it feels somehow related to, like, a comfort with having your personality and your face and your voice out there in the world. Whereas I always sort of like shied away from that, and I've had to warm up to doing things like this since then, and that's been a learning curve for me, and it's been very fun and rewarding in its own way. But yeah, was never really into social media, but I knew that was a key part of it. So Jesse helped me out, like, from day one. He was a part of the company and a part of what we were doing, and helped me navigate that whole sphere. And then it was a lot of just hustling and starting by, contacting everyone that I knew to tell people about what I was doing, and trying to not feel the imposter syndrome that one might feel before sending pedals to people or to YouTubers early. Like, one of the things that, it was very intimidating at the time. Now they're people that I talk to regularly and consider friends, but I was at an event where, Emily Harpist, Emily Hopkins, and her partner Russ were there, and so I introduced myself and gave them a Pet Yeti, and felt like, felt like a shot in the dark. And then, then lo and behold, like some weeks or months later, it's there on their channel, which helped enormously in the early days. And I don't know. It was just a matter. I know it's not a great crisp answer. Like there's no easy way to make it happen, but I had to just like hustle a lot. I had to not be afraid to put myself out there and had to just sort of believe in what I was doing. And also be willing, I think, I like gave away a bunch of pedals at first to people, which is expensive, especially when you're not like now, like we build hundreds of pedals at a time. I can give a handful away and that doesn't feel like a major expense. But back in the day, I don't know, when I was building pedals like more or less one at a time, to give a handful away felt like a lot, but I do think a willingness to sort of like, I don't know, hook some people up with the thing you're making and get them to take a chance on you, a little can go a long way. But then, yeah, we did get very lucky in some other ways, which culminated at the end of 2024. We had released Pet Yeti, we released Gravity Well, which is our wavefolder tremolo pedal. And then, I also sent that one to Emily, and then that one won the Emma for tremolo that year, which was sort of the big, if we had a big break, like maybe that was it. And then by winning Tremolo of the Year, then that put us on a lot of people's radar where we hadn't been before. It helped us find new people to partner with, like the distributor that we work with now. And it sort of set a lot of things in motion that sort of helped us turn this corner from a passion project into something that looked more like a real small business, that we then got to spend even more time and more dedication. And at that point, shortly after then, I was able to quit the job that I had been working and sort of like double timing Cosmodio and other work, and was able to sort of set that aside and actually commit myself full time to doing this. And then I think that ability for me to focus on this singularly was then something that really supercharged, I don't know, just what was possible to design and to make, and what was possible in terms of trying to find new ways to capture more of an audience and connect with more people. I also grew a team relatively early, I think more so earlier than many people would have. I think I've just known this whole time that there's things I'm good at and there's things that I'm not. And I'm like confident and believe in the things that I'm good at, but I knew that I could never like go it alone or do everything by myself. And sort of being able to, and that started with Jesse and getting him to help me with social media, but that continued to like, I have a team of a couple other folks, Peter and Jack here, who they help, build pedals, but they also bring a lot of life and a lot of ideas to the company. And I think that was a risk bringing more people on because, you have to make payroll and it raises the stakes every time someone, even, any one new person getting involved is like a massive new commitment. But having a team is huge. It's like the difference between being a solo artist and being in a band. And you can make yourselves greater than the sum of your parts, and you can do things and have the confidence to do things that you couldn't before.
I think it might even be more impactful in a small business. If I've never been in a working touring band, but I have a lot of optics into how it works. I think the difference between being a solopreneur and having even just one person helping out in whatever way that is like, it's not like it doubles your output. It might even quadruple it.
Completely. Oh, it's a totally exponential curve. Like,
and that gets to like that. There's a range, where that isn't true as well. But especially early on, that like 1 to 10 range is incredibly important.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think being able to traverse that, I don't know. Now I find myself 2 years later living. I mean, it's still whatever. I don't want to say like I'm living the dream. Like it's very, very difficult. Running a small business is of any sort, but certainly in this industry, is just like extremely humbling and crushingly difficult every day. And there's new, unique challenges all the time. And we're still very far from like being big enough or stable enough or whatever to make it not feel risky. Like it's still risky and it's still scary, and it's not like we can just like take it easy. It's I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but like But I do feel like now, a couple years later, I basically feel like I'm living some form of the dream that I had before. So it really is like, it's corny, but like it's kind of been a dream come true.
No, I mean, I relate to that in a big way. And it seems like our journeys were different, but started from a similar place. Because around that same time period, I mean, I had very similar things. I'm like, I got my first delay pedal and was like, whoa, what's this? And like, in that same time frame, I started doing this in 2016. And when I say started doing this, I mean, the first thing I did was like a picture of an amplifier. And so it was like, I guess I put this on the Instagrams. Let me old man my way through this. I don't know what this is. Me wearing my hard hat and like fire suit and going like, oh, I don't know what this is. And it was a weird time though, because I felt like I also felt the magic of the boutique pedal world. And it was pulling me in really hard. And I was like, I want to be a part of this. But I have a baby on the way, and I've been at this job for a long time, and I got to figure how am I going to do both? And so I just had a different weird way of weaseling I always say I like weaseled my way into the industry because I came at it from such a weird angle of like, there weren't any podcasts actively doing what I was doing. And so I just saw that gap, and I was like, I guess maybe that's the way I can do it.
Totally.
I discovered an app that let me record on my iPhone, whatever it was at the time, 4 or 5, I don't even remember what it was on. And I was like, oh, I can record remotely. I actually can do this. Okay, there's a way. And I just kind of kicked the door in, and people let me in. Like, they were like, yeah, we'll talk to you. And that was the big thing. Like, when people were like, yeah, we'll talk to you, I was like, oh man, this is a game changer. I didn't think that any of these people would give me the time of day. They got companies to run, but they were so open and willing to have conversations and be open in those conversations that it made the show interesting enough that it was able to get some legs. But I feel what you were feeling. Like, I want to be a part of this somehow, some way.
Totally.
And I'm just thankful that I was able to.
Hey, Rocky.
What's up, Vincent?
Did you hear about the latest?
Latest what?
The latest drop from Maris. It's totally insane.
No, tell me more.
Maris just released Enzo X.
What's that?
Enzo X is a supernova expansion from the original Enzo into the highest quality and most flexible studio synthesizer ever created in a pedal format.
Whoa!
Enzo X combines 5 synth types, 5 drives, 3 reverbs, and 5 modulations. It also includes a full 2.5 second stereo delay, all in one pedal.
That sounds hard to use.
It's not. The UI is from the same family as the Mercury X and the LVX. It's super easy to dive in and see exactly what you are tweaking in real time.
Oh, I see. It's right there on the screen.
Yep.
Is it this for guitars, though?
Nope. You can plug almost anything into the Enzo X, including your MIDI controller.
That sounds incredible. Where do I get it?
You can pick up Enzo X online at maris.us or at any of their fine retailers across the globe.
Did you just say across the globe?
They know what I meant.
Wait, are we getting paid for this?
I'm still waiting on that cash money from last time.
He better at least give us pizza for dinner.
I'm not giving him his Enzo X back until he does.
For more information, make sure you check out maris.us, and apparently I have to go order a pizza. How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services, and it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
Well, that makes me think of a couple things. First of all, I want to see this first post of you in your like fireman helmet or whatever you just described.
I don't know if I ever posted me in that suit. I was at a fuel terminal, so we were in like these flame retardant clothings and hard hats and stuff, and I don't know that I ever like put that out there in the real world because I wasn't technically supposed to be doing what I was doing. But I just know I was like in different parts of the facility on my phone trying to make content, and it was a challenge.
Well, I mean, hearing that though, like one thing I've learned is, if anyone's listening or thinking about doing something like what I'm doing or what you're doing or anything, really, any sort, like imposter syndrome is so useless. Like we all feel it. We all feel like, oh, well, I'm supposed to know X, Y, Z, or I'm supposed to have like studied this or that, or I'm supposed to have a credential, or I'm supposed to. But if you know all the things, then you're just going to do stuff just like everyone else is already doing them. And if you actually have the sort of, I don't know, tenacity to just try doing it without already knowing how to do it, which is, of course, how everyone has to start, then you're going to do it a little differently. And you're going to do it in a way that's like a little bit awkward and a little bit extra and a little bit imprecisely tuned. And that's going to be what gives it personality, is that awkward and that awkwardness and imprecision, really. And that's what's going to make it you, and that's what's going to make it different, and that's what's going to draw the first people who actually see it as something new and refreshing. But also, to your point, I think all of that is made even more possible in the music instrument space, and certainly in my sphere of it, in the pedal space. The community of people, like you were just saying, like people giving you the time of day, like that's just happened to me again and again, and is always a surprise because I never expect it, but is just a real pattern where like the people, the other pedal builders and the people who work in this industry and people who run guitar shops and all of it, like it's such a cool community. Like it just takes a certain type of person to live here and to want to live here. And there's so many just wonderful people who are just genuinely in love with the craft of this, and so who they want to talk to other people. I mean, like it is generous, of course. There's a lot of people around me that I feel very indebted to, that have been very generous in helping me along the way. But there is also some part of it for them. It's not pure generosity. Like they love it. They love this stuff, and that's why they're here in this world. And do they want to talk to you about the stuff you're building? Yeah, because they're interested, wonderful people. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't hurt that this community is like really, really so great. And I feel very, that's just been like the biggest and best surprise of this whole endeavor is like how cool this world is and the people in this world are.
I want to go back to the imposter syndrome thing a little bit because all of the people that I know that are in this business have felt that to some degree. And like nobody, especially in that, there was kind of this weird time frame from like 2012 forward, basically, where there's kind of a new crop of quote unquote boutique builders, I guess, not just in pedals, but in amps and guitars and pedal boards and strings and everything else. Like there was just something in the water around that time that made everybody think maybe I should do something like that. And I don't know what that is. But everybody that I've talked to had some sort of degree of like, well, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did it anyway. And that's like one very common thread through the whole thing. And the truth is, you don't learn anything by just sitting on the sidelines. You can only learn so much that way. You can read and you can watch YouTube videos and you can study and you can circuit bend, and until you actually get out there and do it, you don't necessarily understand why, like, okay, well, I can make this. It was only $30 of parts. Why does it cost this much money? Like, you don't really understand all the ins and outs of that until you've done it and actually gone down that road and seen what that looks like. And it's honestly, it doesn't take long to figure out why things are the way they are.
Completely.
It sounds silly. I remember thinking, I feel like a cranky old man when I criticize that criticism, but I remember I used to think that too. I was like, this fuzz pedal only has 4 parts in it. Why is it so much money? I get it now. I understand. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not an easy thing to do at any kind of scale. It's easy to make one, right?
Completely. Yeah. And it's also, that tension can also be furthered because one of the best reasons to make something early on is because it is cheaper than buying a new piece of gear. And so then that sort of almost trains someone's expectation. Well, like, well, if it's cheaper to build something than to buy something, then like, why does something need to be priced high in the first place? And like, one of the reasons is, well, probably when you were taking on that project to DIY a pedal so you could save on it, you weren't putting, which is fine, this isn't a critique, you weren't putting a lot of value on your time. That was probably like fun time, right? It's like DIY pedal time, and you buy
like, I can watch a movie or I can build this pedal.
Totally. Yeah, I'm going to spend $30 on parts, and then it might take me a week of evenings like to piece together that like first pedal, and you walk away from it and you'll be like, I built this for only $30, but like plus a week of your life. Like, and obviously now, you know, when we're building things at scale, it doesn't take us a week to build a pedal, but still there's like real human time and real human labor. And although some sub-assemblies, you know, are made in other places, we do all the final assembly and all the testing and a lot of building right here at our little workshop. And there's a lot, and there's a lot of, you know, research and development, I guess you'd say, into developing a new product and getting it just right and getting the art right. And we have human art on all the, you know, for people who don't know our pedals, one thing that I think makes them kind of distinct is they're all covered in like really resplendent full faceplate artwork. And you know, we have human artists
like this.
Exactly, like that. And we have human artists that we work with, and they need to get paid too. And overall, there's a lot that goes into it. And releasing a new pedal, developing and releasing and building a pedal, it's so hard. Like, and when I say, like, I know I feel like I've just said a lot of things about how, like, oh, you should try it, you don't need to know everything. And that's true, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. You do have to be ready to, like, put a lot of your time and effort and emotions into something, into really making and building something special.
And you have to be okay when it doesn't work the way you thought it was going to, because it's going to happen at some point.
Sometimes it's good. I mean, I do feel like there's a lot of happy accidents that are part and parcel of on the road to invention. But
I was actually talking about from the reception perspective. You might pour your heart and soul into something, and it just, for whatever reason, doesn't quite land with the people you think it's going to. We've all experienced that as artists, I think, to a degree, and I think there's art in making this stuff, and it applies here too. I've seen it happen where it's like, this is going to smash. This is going to be so great. Everyone's going to love it. And usually it does. Oftentimes it does. Sometimes it's like, wow, we really tried really hard and that didn't really work.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of times it's a mix too. And like one thing, the same artifact, the same podcast or song or pedal that someone thinks is trash, someone else is going to find and love it. And so that's another thing. You just have to sort of steel yourself for getting all sorts of different reactions. And it's a difficult line to walk where on one hand, you want to make yourself immune from negativity, or at least from being like totally discouraged when you encounter negativity, you also want to be receptive because you're going to learn things from the way people respond to what you're building. And so on one hand, you have to like try not to care about it on an emotional level, but try to care about it on intellectual or at a professional level, where you're like, okay, well, that is information that I have to work with now. And
I'm trying to parse through. This is really hard, especially with what we do with strings. Trying to parse through the amount of critique or commentary that is legit and like, oh, that's a real valid complaint, we should look into that, versus that sucks.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why does it suck? Because it sucks. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, because just the different types of products, we just have to do a lot more volume to make it work. And so there's a lot more opinions when that many more people put their hands on things. And most of it's great. And that's why we keep doing things the way we do. But we have changed things over the years based on feedback. It's like, we've heard this about 200 times.
Yeah.
Let's look into this a little closer. And it's not just this sucks. It's like this particular gauge on this particular set is doing something kind of strange. Let's look into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But trying to parse through, like you said, emotionally not caring, but also emotionally caring is like a weird balance to try to strike. Because it's like, I don't want to be like, none of those opinions matter. Because a lot of them do, but a lot of them don't. That's the other problem.
You're never going to make everybody happy. There's also, and this comes straight to one of my, like I have these 5 design principles that I stick to when building and designing pedals. And the one that's most important to me is that pedals, to be instruments, need to be aesthetically open-ended. And by that I mean that I don't claim to know what sounds good to you, and that I don't claim, I try to build things with a really, really broad range of musical possibilities that include things that sound conventionally good, but that also might include a lot of sounds that are conventionally bad, because I don't expect my customers to necessarily be conventional, and I don't expect to be the arbiter of aesthetic beauty, to use highfalutin terms. Like, and I acknowledge that in the history of guitar music, amps were never supposed to break up that way. Like, that was bad. Breakup was bad. That was a bad sound. You weren't supposed to do that. It was a flaw of the vacuum tube that it behaved in that way. And then it became the thing that people wanted. And that's happened time and time again in the history of musical instruments and musical instrument electronics and innovation and invention in this space. And so because of that, I want the things that we make to be like really, really broad. And this is why I say we make adventurous pedals for adventurous people, because like I want to appeal to adventurous players who might be interested in pedals that go further than other ones, that don't keep you. I think some designers, and this is fine too, there's all sorts of different ways. Nothing I'm saying is like, oh, this is the only way people should do it. This is just my way to do it. But like, there's other designers that work very differently that might want to keep the parameters kind of tight and keep you in this sort of safe zone. And like, oh yeah, you can twist all these knobs, but no matter how far, they're not going to take you anywhere dangerous. They're going to like take you and leave you in this sort of like polite zone of expected sounds. And then they can say things like, oh yeah, no, like this pedal, like you can't get a bad sound out of this thing. Like, because everything is like carefully proportioned to make sure you stay in that safe, familiar area. And my design principle is just like, couldn't be further from that. Like, no, you're going to get a lot of bad sounds. You're going to get a lot of bad sounds out of a Cosmodio pedal. But that's because like they might not be bad to you at all. And I also think it can be kind of thrilling. Even if you don't want some of the sounds, it's thrilling to know that the device that you're holding is powerful enough to go there, can be like driven at 1,000 miles per hour, and that's just like recklessly dangerous, and maybe you don't actually use it in a piece of music, but to know that the thing is like latent with that power, and that you're in charge of it, and that someday if you want to go 1,000 miles per hour, like you can, if you want to make like incredible, feedback noise or incredible just like bit crunched insanity that in addition to like the really cool fuzz or the really cool chorus that you might get out of one of our pedals, that it can take you there too, is inspiring to me, and I think inspiring to people. But then the natural result of that is, of course, then pedals get into people's hands. Some people put sounds on them, like post sounds that they love, and then there's all those haters that you're talking about who say like that sucks. And it's like, yeah, that sucks to you because like you might have a fairly narrow range for what you expect out of a guitar pedal, but like here's a pedal that sounds different. Here's a player that posted something with it that is using that different sort of sound. And so yeah, so if you like really want like conventional creamy overdrive tones, then that pedal that we make, it does suck. For you.
It's not going to do it.
It's just not going to. Well, it might. I mean, we try to make every pedal have this really broad range that they all have to encompass sort of familiar, fairly traditional territory, but then expand to cover really wild, vast, unconventional territory. So every one of our pedals, they all can do sort of normal things in addition to totally freaky things.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Goodhertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblinssaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
I like doing totally freaky things. I do them all the time with like different effects chains and making all things plug into things that shouldn't and make weird sounds. And so when I got the Splinter Twin, I was like, yeah, I'm going to make freaky sounds with it. And I have made freaky sounds with it. But I think I told you this when we talked in person. I'm like, I'm really pleasantly surprised how much I like the basic echo sound.
Yeah, thank you.
It's like,
thank you.
This is a beautiful, just set it there. And it's like, well, that's not why I would have like picked this up originally, but what a great echo sound. It's just a nice, very basic, beautiful echo that breaks down in just the right way and feels really good to play and is easy to dial in. And I'm like, well, that's a nice, pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting this to be a feature that I just loved so much. So,
totally. And then, I feel the same way. And for people, a little bit of context for listeners who don't know it, Splinter Twin is our most recent release. And it tries to unite the whole spectrum of time. There's a lot of effects that are time-based effects, some of which we think of, like slapback and delay echo effects, and some of which we don't, like chorus and flangers, which are also made using delay lines, just delay lines that are so short that we don't hear it as a delay. And so Splinter Twin was an attempt to sort of put all of those different sounds and styles of time-based effects on one fluid musical continuum. That's not like a multi-effect. There's no flanger mode and chorus mode and delay mode. It's just like as you turn the time knob, you move from flanger land through chorus land into delay land. And but as a very just organic product of that, you can drive, if we're using the car analogy, you can drive the car to those destinations and you can totally arrive there and be like, oh yeah, totally, I drove the car to chorus land, like here we are. But because you can actually traverse the whole spectrum, you can find all of these in-between places and these very sort of unusual places. And then we threw on a whole bunch of other parameters to make sure that you could get really, really experimental and design sounds that that neither me nor anyone else has ever heard before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really, really a good time. I like that thing a lot.
Thanks, man.
But going back to like the you can't please everybody thing, I'm like kind of in a very mild version of it that I haven't experienced in a while. So by the time the listeners hear this will be over. But for the last month, we've been running a giveaway at the String Joy. We're giving away a Les Paul, and there's ads and all kinds of stuff running for it. And a lot of them feature a random. I gave the team because we're like, hey, you're the token metal guy here. We need some metal stuff, and I'm like, I have gigabytes and gigabytes of random riffs you can select from. So I sent, I don't know, 10 different things that I made at some random point and didn't ever find a use for. And they picked this one that has like a heavy flanger on it, and it's just the most straightforward thing you could imagine.
Excellent.
And a lot of people, to my surprise, are like, what's this song? Who's making this song? What is this song? And I'm like, this is like, it's not something I thought anybody would care about. A lot of people liked it. But there are a handful of people like, the guitar sounds like that. I don't want it. What a piece of crap. Who wrote this stupid song? This is dumb. Next time you could pick something better than this AI trash to put over your all this stuff. And I'm like, this is weird. And then I kind of realized, I'm like, you're never going to get people, like, I should have known this, like, intuitively, and I probably did, but you're never going to make something that, like, a lot of people really like without also getting a lot of people that hate it. Because
Completely.
a lot of big artists, this is sounding like overly hipster and generalized, but there are a lot, specifically in the quote-unquote country music genre, there are a lot of big artists that I really don't like.
Yeah.
I love country music, but I really don't like a lot of the big mainstream artists, especially from the 2014 to now era, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, that's not all of them, and I'm not trying to name any names like I would have as an angry or younger man. But millions of people do. Millions of people love it. And
Totally.
You know what? I gotta just let people like things, okay? Because I've made things that a few hundred people like, and a few hundred people also don't like, So it's like, you never make any art or anything cool that speaks to enough people without getting probably lesser, but still some degree of people that don't like it. And if you make something that's for everybody, there's still going to be people that don't like it.
Yeah, if you make something that's for everybody, then you'd be the first person ever to do such a thing. Like, it doesn't exist. Maybe pizza. Some people don't like pizza,
Not very many.
Yeah,
not very many.
But yeah, no. I think if you're, and this harkens back to those same early days, and once again, why I'm so glad I had Jesse involved to help me navigate social media when it was so foreign to me. But I can remember some of those first negative comments rolling in, and he said, "Good." He was like, "Oh, great. It means we're getting somewhere."
That's
right.
right.
Like, this is part of the critical path. It's like, you have to get the hate, you have to get the vitriol, because that means that you're reaching people, and
you're at least causing some. And I don't want to say like that all hate is a good thing. If you're like intentionally being antagonistic, I guess that can work for some things and some artists and some forms or fashion. I don't necessarily think that's a great approach. But if you're just like being honest to yourself and trying to make something you think is cool, and some people end up hating on it, that is a sign that you're doing something right.
It's a sign. But yeah, obviously there's like ways to be kind or constructive in criticism, that the internet is not naturally conducive to that culture of criticism. No, it's great. It's great that we all like different things. That's the beautiful thing about art. Like, it wouldn't be fun if we all liked the same stuff. And if we did all like the same stuff, then we wouldn't need to keep making stuff. Like, we'd all have music that we all liked, and we'd all have a handful of pedals or guitars that we all liked, and everyone can stop writing songs and making pedals because we all like the same stuff.
Yeah.
That world is boring. Like,
That's boring.
Yeah, so we can celebrate. Like, I do think, yeah, it's rotten to just leave like lame, discouraging comments. I don't recommend people do that, but yeah, I try to celebrate this idea that like what we make is for some people and not for everybody, and Yeah, but you do have to grow some thick skin.
You do, you do, and sometimes
yeah.
it's like, oh, that kind of hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
But and then you go like, but why? Why does that particular person? But I don't know. I've definitely gotten thicker skin, and my buddy Ryan over at 60 Cycle Hum has always seemingly had very thick skin, and his approach to the trolling and his attitude around trolling has helped me like kind of process it. You know, it's been that way for a long time. I've always given him a lot of credit for helping me. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, because I remember we were sitting at Sweetwater talking about this, like with a bunch of different creators, and he's like, they don't realize that they're helping you.
Right. They're amplifying you. They're like putting a little bit more energy, but to like lift this thing up.
Yeah.
And I also do love when Ryan like turns it around and he'll just like repost some like really
I've started
nasty
doing that
thing,
from
and,
time
like,
to time.
It's so great.
I can't help it. And like now I'm like, yeah, now it's kind of funny. Okay, all right. And then I realize how futile it is. Like the most harmful thing you can do to anybody online, as far as like if you really, really don't like their stuff, is to ignore it. You just go like get it out of your feed. That's the most, like, saying something nasty or sending it to somebody and being like, look at this is terrible. Like all of that just helps the thing that you are not liking spread further. And it's silly to me that hasn't been that doesn't seem to be common knowledge yet. Like you're just helping them.
I think people, even if they know it, they just can't help themselves. Like, there's also this like emotional response that clearly some people just have to vent, and for better or worse. But you're absolutely right. It does.
I'm not immune to it. No.
Yeah. But I also think you touched on another great lesson in there, which is when in doubt, take a note from Ryan Burke. That guy, just the best attitude, you know? And he's so fun, and I think like just a shining example of what I was talking about before, which is basically just like be yourself and do things your way, and not everyone will like it. I also, I mean, I love Ryan, and I also really, I feel like he's talked more in the past, maybe forever, but at least, you know, since I've been listening in the past handful of years, about like how it took a while, even when he had a podcast and a show and a YouTube channel that was like, had a lot of viewership, but he still sort of felt self-conscious, like playing guitar on it, and like just having his playing be a part of it. And more, I think he's like let himself just lean into like, well, no, I don't have to play for everybody either. I can like play surf rock, and if that's not your thing, either get on board with the fact that like that's what I'm doing here, or like that's okay. There's other places on the internet for you. But
that took me a long time too, to be like, and even like some of my early playing, I'm like doing this, like you can tell I'm like but it's like that's not how I play really. And so it took a while, and the moment for me was at a NAMM show. I was at the Keeley booth checking out pedals, and it was through an amp so people could hear it, and I was just let's see what all the new Keeley stuff is. And a guy come up and he thought I was the demo guy. And I'm like, oh, I guess he's like, can you show me what that sounds like and that shows like? I'm like, oh, I'm not. Like, actually, I mean, then that switch flipped in my head, and I was like, I guess it sounds good enough that he thinks that I'm supposed to be the one showing it off. Out of all these millions of shredders, I'm just over here, like whatever. He thought it was pleasing enough to him, and that actually, I don't even know who that person was, but it kind of gave me a weird like shot of confidence. I'm like, oh, he thought I was the demo guy. And because I was not thinking, I was just like, oh, I'm just playing, tweeting knobs like I would normally do.
Yeah.
And it really helped me a lot. I'm like, oh, I guess I just need to stop thinking about it so much and just play whatever comes out, and that's what comes out, and it's fine.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that is almost, or is very similar, but I always think about a lot in terms of just like someone playing and being self-conscious of suddenly the fact that they're playing and someone else is listening, is when so when we are at events like NAMM or like the Portland Expo or any of these awesome, you know, pedal, guitar, amp events, and we have our stations and we've got our headphones on, and people are welcome to come up and try playing the pedals, and then I don't know, it's this like interesting unspoken arrangement where then like it's me or it's some other Cosmodio team member there who's like they're hanging out while you play guitar, and I think a lot of people, I don't know, it's like in some funny way thrilling, or you can tell like people are self-conscious. And of course, if we did, if we know that you just want to like play privately and play around with pedals, then like we don't have to listen or be engaged. But it can be a really nice, interesting interaction when we're there and someone is playing and we can like make thoughtful suggestions or lean into what they're playing. And I don't know, but you're being vulnerable anytime you just like pick up a guitar, and even if it's just one other person listening, it's that like point of self-awareness and vulnerability, which takes a little bravery to do. And I always appreciate that out of people. Yeah.
Well, I'm very experienced with effects. I know a lot about. I know that like most of it's just tweaking knobs and seeing what happens. Yeah. But I actually really like at those events when somebody from the team is like, you should check this out like this, because they know more about their individual product than I do. Yeah. And so I'd like, you show me what you think is cool. Like I can probably find it eventually, but it'd be cooler if you just showed me the thing. Totally. It might take me hours to find the thing that you think is really cool about this. So show me what you think is cool. I always really appreciate that. I'm sure there are other people that would rather just stand there and find it on their own, and that's fine. But I always really appreciate when it's like, show me the stuff. Let's go through this stuff. I think that's a lot of fun. Yeah. Maybe I'm just getting lazy in my old age, but no, I like it.
It's fun. I mean, that's what I always want to, and there's no wrong way to do it. But yeah, everyone explores these things differently. Everyone interacts with instruments and with gear differently. You try to, I don't know, now that I have a little bit of experience at these sorts of events, you learn that there's like different types of players and different types of customers who are going to want to interact in a different way. Yeah, I can sort of try to key into that early and then deliver the helpful advice or like my op-ed about the pedal if that's what they want to hear, and also just give them space to freely explore if that's what they want. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to twist my arm to talk about our pedals all day long. It was actually really, really nice. Like in the early days when we'd go to events and just had one pedal. We just had our Pet Yeti distortion. And then even when we had two, to a lesser extent, three, I still felt an obligation. Like I had to explain every creative choice that I made. I had to explain everything I could about this one pedal that was there in front of us and between us, me and the demoer. But, and it's been rather freeing actually now that we have still a small lineup, but we've got 4 pedals. We have our mod shop and the mods that come out of it. And now there's just too much there for me to explain everything, which means I can actually like take a breath and just try to like listen to the person and maybe find the 1 or 2 special things that they might want to discover instead of trying to explain every choice I've ever made. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially, you've got 4 units, but they're very flexible. So
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we are almost at the end of the main episode here, and I always like to ask 2 classic questions before I wrap these things up. But before I do that, I like to give the guests a chance to take the floor. You're talking to a few thousand people right now. You can shout out anybody you want to shout out, plug anything you want to plug, say hi to your great aunt, or whatever you want to do. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much, Blake. It's really fun to be here and to chat with you. For folks who haven't heard of us, our website is cosmo.io, and we're on Instagram and all that stuff, Cosmodio Instruments. One thing I will call out is that this summer we're collaborating with we're based in Boston, and we are throwing an event on August, is it August 28th or 29th? It's the Saturday at the end of August. And we're co-hosting it with this wonderful retailer here called Stompbox Sonic. And it's reviving an old event that they used to hold annually before Cosmodio existed. And then when I found out about it, I sort of tried to see what I could do to get them to throw it again. And so now I'm helping them to revive it and bring it back. So it's going to be really, really cool. A bunch of pedal and amp and guitar makers will all be there. So if you're in the Boston area, you should come by and join. And if you're a builder and want to get involved and show off your wares, find me on Instagram or send me an email through our website and get in touch.
Beautiful. Perfect. And the link to that website will be wherever the words are. I used to say show notes. Now it's description. And I don't know. This thing gets blasted out on all platforms. So
they're there in the ether. You just sort of reach out and you grab it.
That's right.
You'll find it. Yeah.
You'll find it. Look where the words are. That's where the link is. Go there. Okay. All right. Final questions. First one. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
It's a tough question. There's so many wonderful pedals. But I think my favorite, it's probably also the first Boss pedal I ever had, is the PS6 Harmonist. It is their pitch shifting pedal, and it's not the best pitch shifter. It's okay, but it is a just incredible platform for no input feedback experimentation. And for anyone who doesn't know what that means, I actually have the PS6 here. But like I mentioned before, like taking the input of something and just plugging it into the output. And now you do need like another piece of gear in between. But when it just tries pitch shifting itself, you start twisting knobs and this pedal like explodes into a kaleidoscope of beautiful chaos. Like it's really, I've made whole pieces of music with like this as the main instrument, like not even processing guitar, just like this being the source of the sound. And it does, I think, even though I said before it's not the best pitch shifter, that's just in terms of some sort of like generic notion of fidelity or pitch tracking, like the way it pitch shifts and the sort of choices to shift by different degrees or into 3-voice harmonies, etc. Like it does a whole lot of stuff that's just like instantly musical, really charismatic, a little different, and always exciting. So
yeah, the best pitch shifter is always a weird thing because like I think a lot of people are like, everyone asks the same thing about pitch shifting, right? How's the tracking? How's the tracking? How's the tracking? And it's like, I don't know. Some of my favorite pitch shifters don't track all that well.
Exactly.
You know, like that's not what I'm necessarily looking for. That slight delay, that slight little bit of lack of response there is part of what makes them fun to play in a lot of ways. And you kind of can lock into a weird groove with them. And I understand that it also, you know, there's a time and place for like perfect accuracy, especially if you're like trying to like, oh, I need to switch to a tuning and I only have one guitar. That does make sense. But I think if you get too hung up on that aspect, you're going to miss out on some really cool pitch shifting that isn't necessarily trying to be some sort of perfect recreation of a different pitch. It's actually like painting a different color altogether. And
completely.
It's kind of like distortion, right? In a way.
Yeah, it's like choosing between, like the thing with perfect pitch tracking, that's a clean boost. But the thing with like really gnarly, glitchy pitch tracking, like that's a fuzz face. And there's just going to be all these different ways to articulate your guitar and different sounds to find. So
love that.
General proponent of pitch shifters of all sorts.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. Agreed. All right, final question. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
My favorite, a lot of good pizza. I really like traditional Neapolitan pizza, like Italian pizza. You know, and it's funny, I mentioned before spending those years in New Zealand, there's a lot of people from everywhere in New Zealand, but there's a lot of people who are like straight off the boat Italian, opening really great pizza restaurants. And so we'd have all this really great Italian pizza, this place called Pizza Napoli we'd go to all the time. For the handful of listeners maybe who are in Wellington, go to Pizza Napoli. It's right down in the CBD. But now I live in Boston, where it's an Italian city, right? Like there's Italian American culture is a massive part of Boston, part of its history, and so much good Italian food here. But it's Italian American food, which is a little different from like Italian food.
Oh yeah.
And so it's actually, I'm sure it exists here, and I just haven't found it yet. And someone will probably leave a comment and can instruct me where to find it. But like, yeah, I actually doesn't seem likely that I would like miss the traditional Italian food from New Zealand, and then not be able to find it here in Boston. But that's something that I miss.
New Zealand just seems like a place I want to be. Really
you gotta go.
I really want to go there.
It's wonderful in so many different ways, and an incredible music scene that I could talk for an hour about, but I won't get started because I know we're wrapping up. So just know if you have a chance, everyone should go.
There's Patreon. We'll get into it over there.
Cool.
All right, everybody. For Barton, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones.
Alrighty, folks, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Please check out Cosmodio on the interwebs or wherever you acquire your finest effects pedals. Head over, check them out today. It's really, really great stuff. I am still in love with this Splinter Twin. It is great. Really, really good stuff. Check out Cosmodio wherever you check out your pedals. And if they're not available there, well, you know what to do. Ask for them. Ask for them at your favorite shop. That's the move. Oh, and if you want more content, you want more jibber jabbering with Barton and I, well, all you got to do is head over to patreon.com/tonemob, where for $5 a month, you will not only get access to the ad-free feed, you will get access to the extra blabbering that I do with most guests every single week over there. And it is just for the supporters of the show, just for the ones that literally keep the lights on and the vacuum tubes warm over here in the shred shed. I appreciate you people so much. Seriously, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to get to this point in the podcast. Please share it with a friend. Do all that good stuff that you know helps us internet folk out. It really does mean the world. All right, let's get you on the road. Bye-bye.
One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.
The internet gives us a glimpse into the crazy happening all around us. Unhinged behavior, personal secrets, unbelievable coincidences. It's all one big circus, and the RR Show is your front row seat. Each week, we curate the wildest Reddit stories just for you. Like how her future husband is definitely too close to his mother, or how a guy got revenge on his awful boss by making him lose a major client, or how a wakeboarding mishap sent a blast of water up where the sun doesn't shine. Whether you're into hilarious accidents, insane relationship drama, or pure chaos, these insane confessions are sure to make your jaw drop. Don't miss out on the stories everyone is talking about. Listen to the RR Show weekly on Mondays via your favorite podcast platform, or get your episodes early and ad-free by becoming a member. The RR Show. All of the drama, none of the hassle.